and inform through the two interconnected sites, Birmingham in the UK and Ludhiana in India. How exciting is that? I'll introduce myself. I have over 40 years of experience in creating, growing, and exiting successful businesses. During this career, I've operated in various roles, from sales director, managing director, and chair of board. I've successfully provided advice, coaching, and mentoring to over 1,000 businesses in the UK and abroad in various roles, from non-executive director through to formal consultation. And I've acted as an advisor to the UK innovation and incubation bodies for many years. Back in 2003, many years ago, I wrote and piloted the initial business workshop program for what was then the National Business Support Organisation, Business Link in the UK. This program went on to become the National Starting in Business program, which was hugely successful across the whole of the UK. I have contracted, modelled and delivered over 100,000 square feet of innovation centres and programmes within the UK, and numerous other successful enterprise-related projects. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to share some of this experience with our Indian colleagues, and also learn from you in India about how we can improve and develop our support for our early stage businesses. This masterclass program, both today and tomorrow, will offer you the opportunity to receive valuable insights into business success from some of the most experienced and inspirational business leaders in India, along with a view from the UK of how incubators can transform early stage business. We will also be introducing a really exciting new opportunity. The new Business Startup Workshop program that we will be delivering through NBCIE in Ludhiana, India. And this is a great opportunity for you to engage in a new, innovative program of startup development. I also extend an invitation to all of you today to engage and join with us within NBCIE as part of our business community, sharing good practice, exploring innovation together, looking at growth and leading for all of us to prosperity and success. Without further ado, I'm really privileged today to have the opportunity to introduce an inspirational leader to both us in NBCIE and across India, Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal. Mr. Munjal is an intrepid entrepreneur, investor, and recently turned successful author with multiple passions and interests. Mr. Munjal is the chair of the BCM Foundation and co-founder of the BML Munjal University. He chairs the governing body of his alumna mater, the Doon School, considered to be India's leading high school. As the chairman of Hero Enterprise, he oversees diverse service and manufacturing businesses such as insurance distribution, steel manufacturing, real estate, corporate training, and an active investment office. Mr. Munjal is a real advocate of STEAM education, the blending of engineering and arts. And he supports startups in many areas, including digital learning, community transportation, healthcare, women empowerment, education, financial services, consumer-facing businesses, amongst many other things. It's a great privilege to hand over and welcome Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bernard. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this opening session of the masterclass set up and organized by NBCIE. Let me first thank Bernard. As you heard, he is an outstanding individual with many pluses to his credit. And I'm delighted that he was able to anchor this session for us. Thank you very much, Bernard, for doing this. I want to spend just a few minutes on telling you about the reason and logic of why this institution has been established and what we hope it will do. You're all aware of the feverish pitch that has taken hold of the startup ecosystem in India of late. Startups, by the way, are not new. All of our companies, all of you in whatever you do, were at some point in time a startup. In every decade, we've had a different style and a different kind of startup establish themselves in the country and, of course, across the globe. If I think about the early decades of when India became independent, we saw many enterprising Indians set up small enterprises, which grew, and some of them grew to large global giant-sized companies. We saw some getting into agriculture, some into hospitality, some into travel, and some into manufacturing, in a whole variety of different fields. And India's economy has been built on the back of such enterprise, especially the small enterprise. We saw a few decades later the startup of a new variety of enterprise. When Wipros moved from the traditional business to set up an IT services company, Infosys got established by 4 professionals together and then 7 of them. And we saw many such enterprises take hold. Of late, we are seeing an amazing explosion of ideas, innovation coming from the young and the not so young across the country. It is now well known that India has made the 3rd largest and the 3rd most dynamic startup ecosystem in the world. I will not go into the number of unicorns that we are seeing and the few decacorns that we've started to see establish themselves of late, but you read all of this in the media, so I don't need to go into the details. I will talk about us a little bit as a family as to what we have been doing and why I believe this makes perfect sense for us to support, to promote, to manage, and to run. Even when my father and my uncles established the business, first starting with Hero Cycles, then going on to make multiple other enterprises, one of the things was done very early on, which was to establish ourselves as a responsible part of society and community by doing things with people less privileged, with communities less fortunate. And these initiatives went across a spectrum of areas. Some of these initiatives were in the area of education, some in health, some in vocational skills, and so on and so forth. Over a period of time, we found that as the companies became larger, their geographical spread also went beyond Ludhiana, outside Punjab, and to multiple other states in India, as also globally. Almost as a philosophy, what we started doing was, wherever we would establish a business enterprise, a factory, an office, or any kind of enterprise, we would take on one or more non-profit as an initiative for ourselves to manage and run in those places. And these were exactly of the kind I said. These were schools in Haridwar and schools in Daruheda and farm in Gurgaon, and a whole different kinds of initiatives close to every one of the business enterprises. And the reason for setting it up close to the business enterprise was twofold. One was that we could actively contribute ourselves. Members of the companies could contribute, as also in some cases, family members of the members of the companies could also get engaged and involved. In Daruheda, for example, at what got known later on as the Raman Munjal Vikas Kendra, a vocational skills program was set up, which went on to support the girl child and women, especially in the rural areas. There are, I think, 6 or 7 different initiatives that are ongoing there to help them become self-sufficient or earning members of the family, or learn how new skills in areas that they're interested in. And all of them were then connected to the markets by either getting them the business or showing them how business can be established. So in all of the programs that we have run, we've also tried to be responsible that if somebody is trained, she or he is able to move on from there and benefit from the skill that they've learned. So education has been one of the major areas. If I look at just the education initiatives in Ludhiana itself, they start from pre-nursery, as some of you may be aware. We established a very contemporary pre-nursery institution last year with some established knowledge and resource coming from the UK. And of course, we have run a large number of schools. I believe there are about 30,000 children now studying in our high schools. And from there, we've gone on to run colleges as well, a B.Ed college, an M.Ed college, a full university, involvement in DMC, which is a medical college, a nursing college, and a full hospital, and the like. One of the things we felt, which is still missing or has not had enough focus and attention, is the need of the small industry in India, first in Ludhiana, then in Punjab, and then in the region around us, to become more dynamic. The world around us had changed dramatically in the last 5 decades, especially the focus on technology and globalization changed the rules of the game. We found that many large companies in India did exceedingly well and became global enterprises. But the small industry still struggled and a lot of it suffered. We've also seen in the last 2 years during the period of this COVID pandemic that a large brunt of the suffering has been taken by small enterprise. So we said we should create an institution which creates a holistic ecosystem to do with ideation, innovation, startups, promotion of startups, running of startup, and entrepreneurship, and support to the small industries which are in and around the region. The partner we found was the Birmingham City University. Some of you may know that Birmingham has been the home of manufacturing and enterprise for a long time in the UK. And the Birmingham City University is a leader in practical, focused, and experiential learning. They have done a wonderful, wonderful job in how do you not provide education, but how do you provide practice-oriented education? How do you provide realistic and experiential education? And they do this with communities, with industry, with the arts, with culture, and a variety of different areas coming together. Now, our idea was exactly this, that STEM education and teaching in India for a long time has had sharp focus. People have wanted their children to become engineers, technologists, good at English, good at mathematics and sciences. But the new find in the world, and new may not be the right word, but of late, there is well-established research to show that the STEAM education clearly has a leg up over STEM education. That is, when you add the arts to the sciences and technology, the ability to learn is improved, the ability to react and respond and take decisions is certainly enhanced, and your ability to lead is much, much better than it would be otherwise. So we thought this would be a wonderful initiative to club all of these in this center that we have called MBCIE for short, but Munjal, Birmingham City University's Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship is the full name, but we've just shortened it to make it easy because it is a mouthful in any case. We want to focus on the outcomes. While all of the heavy lifting is being done by the teams that have been set up in Ludhiana, in India, as also in the UK, but we hope that tens of thousands of individuals and enterprises will be able to get benefit. As Bernard said earlier, I have been a big advocate of STEAM house method of teaching, education, skills, and exposure. And it's therefore important that this enterprise, this institution becomes very much a part of how you see your life and how you see improvement take place in the enterprise that you run, the enterprise that you want to start, or the idea that you have that you would like to convert to an enterprise. So this masterclass is also being set up and run in association with the Mind Institute, which many of you are familiar with. This does many interesting events, conferences, conclaves, and idea exchanges. And this was a perfect candidate for the Mind Institute to be engaged with. I want to thank our team, led by Mr. S.K. Rai and Dr. Prem Kupar in Ludhiana, and Ajay Sinha, who's operating this, and the colleagues from Birmingham City University, who helped us put this together. I also want to give a special thank you to the many experts who have agreed to address the classes today. Mr. Subrat Pani, Vineet Rai, Bhavish Agarwal, Ritesh Agarwal. It's just a wonderful, wonderful list of experts that you will see in the coming sessions today and tomorrow. We also have Simon Colton from the UK, founder of One's Leisure Trainers and Footwear. We have Ms. Ishita Agarwal, Program Director of Atal Innovation Mission, coming in today. And of course, Bernard, who did the introduction. And we will also have Professor Julian Beer, a close friend and a guide to this entire initiative, who's the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Birmingham City University, will also be with us. So thank you all very much. Good luck, good wishes. And I hope the time you spend today and tomorrow will be valuable, but it will also be just shining a torch on what the opportunities are, what the possibilities are, and how, by getting engaged with this initiative, you could better whatever it is you have chosen to do for yourselves. Thank you and good wishes.
Thank you very much, sir. Fabulous introduction to what will be an inspirational 2 days, I am absolutely sure. The opportunity for Birmingham City University to engage with our colleagues in the Munjal Foundation and across the Hero Group, it is really inspirational for us, and an opportunity for us to, as I have said before, bridge across these two business communities. And we genuinely believe this is a new opportunity, both to bring the cultural exchange and the knowledge exchange across our two communities together for all of our benefits. I urge you all to use this as an introduction today to then carry on and engage with this fabulous opportunity. It's now my privilege to introduce another inspirational business leader who's going to help us think about how we ideate and think about our early stage business opportunities. This is Mr. Ritesh Agarwal. Mr. Ritesh Agarwal is the founder and CEO of OYO, a global platform that empowers entrepreneurs and small businesses within hotels and homes by providing full stack technology and brings easy booking, affordability and trusted accommodation to customers around the world. Mr. Agarwal founded OYO with a single hotel in Gurgaon, India in 2013. I bet that time's raced by. He was 19 when he started this enterprise. What an inspirational journey that must have been at that age. Today, OYO is spread across 35 countries internationally, with over 157,000 hotels and homes globally. Ritesh began his career as an entrepreneur and is one of the first Asian residents to be accepted to the Thiel Fellowship. Outstanding. He's been recognized as a young innovator and business leader at multiple global forums, including the Bloomberg 50 listing, Times Financial Changemakers Conference, and CNBC Young Turk of the Year. It's a real privilege to invite Ritesh to share some of his experience with us today. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Thank you, Ritesh. I hand over to you.
Bernard, I was just going to say that Ritesh almost does not need an introduction here in India, or frankly, almost any place in the world now. He's become a household name, and at this amazing young age for what he has done and what he has created, a truly outstanding global enterprise.
Thank you so much, sir. It's very generous coming from you all the time. Thank you, Bernard, for your introduction. But clearly there is a lot for us to continue to do in times to come. Hi everyone, my name is Ritesh. I'm the founder of OYO. It's a great honor for me to come speak here in this unique initiative, and because sir mentioned that it can be quite a mouthful, so I'll just use MBCIE as an easy way. I of course want to thank Shri Munjalji, someone who's been an incredible advisor and a friend to us all through the journey of OYO, and we're looking forward to evolving in years to come. Also, SK Raiji for inviting me here. As I was thinking about what I should come and chat about, I thought that given I'm speaking to a lot of young people who are themselves quite inspired to want to do entrepreneurial impact around themselves, I thought I'll probably just try and share my own learnings over the years, which is still a work in progress. But whatever learnings I've had so far, I thought I'll share some of those, and I hope some of it will be helpful. I'm of course looking forward to the question and answer session at the end, because I'll try and hope that as we can have as many two-way engagement as possible. I think there were 4 to 5 broad stories that I wanted to share. Given I know that today we are focused on potential entrepreneurs, young family business owners wanting to create successful outcomes in the future, I will share a few important learnings going forward. The first and probably the easiest of all is, back in the day when I was starting OYO, and I had just probably one guest house who was willing to collaborate with us in Gurgaon. More often than not, people would tell me that your aspiration should be limited. Don't think too big. Due to various reasons, right? Which is saying that if you think too big, you may go wrong, and things like that. Nothing unfair in it. But as a part of my TL fellowship, one of the things that I saw around myself is almost everyone around me was thinking big. And probably it had something to do with the Bay Area, or just people coming with a background of technology wanting to think big. I realized that if you're going to put an effort anyway, if you're going to challenge yourself anyway, might as well challenge and think big. And the value of it has been fascinating. It's not always been valuable. Sometimes you can make mistakes by thinking big, but on an average, it's been something that has allowed us to create challenges and create significant amount of impact than usual. So no matter what business you're wanting to pursue, whether it is in products, whether it is in services, whether it is in innovation, STEM or STEAM, in each one of those places, you should think about scale, and there is no cost to thinking about it. There is a cost to executing at scale, but there is no cost to think about it. So might as well think big if you're going to think anyway. This is the first big learning I had, and it has constantly held us in good stead. And this is particularly important for me personally, because I constantly ask myself, why do I come back to work every day? And I constantly realize that the most exciting thing for me to come back to work every day is the impact around ourselves. More hotel and homeowners getting value for themselves. Consumers who would have never stayed at hotels or holiday homes staying there for the first time. Seeing this impact around our communities makes it so much more exciting for me to come back to work every day. And hence, I know your calling may be different, but I think scale and size of impact is constantly that has enthused me. The second is invariably I get this question of saying that I want to start something new. So what problem should I solve? Is there an idea? What's the next segment where the big opportunity exists? And I have learned that we are very lucky to be growing up in India. India just has fascinating problems, right? When few of us get together, we are constantly complaining that, look, there are these 5 issues around ourselves. I actually see that and find it so exciting that, in a lot of places around the world, you may not be able to find so many problems. Here we have so many problems that we can wake up and solve more of them and convert them into business creating opportunities. So back in the day, it's not like there was a new problem of finding a good quality place at the right price. This problem existed for many decades, even before I and our management team started OYO. But at the same time, I think all it took for us is to say that if there is this problem that exists, we're going to do something about it and solve it. So in similar manner, all of you will see many problems around yourself. And here is an easy cheat sheet that I wanted to share from my learning for you to take that from a problem to early solution. First, whatever problem that excites you, zero down on that. Make sure that whatever that problem is, engage with the communities that you want to solve the problem for. So if you want to solve the problem for agriculture ecosystem, please spend time with people who buy, produce, and distribute. And that's what I tried to do in my job, right? At OYO, when I started, I spent 3 months every day meeting a new hotel or a holiday home owner, meeting distributors like travel agencies and so on, and meeting customers who were staying in these hotels. No learning can replace the learning of the communities that you're solving the problem for. A lot of people would encourage you to study on the internet or meet people who are successful leaders in the business. You should do all of it. I don't say it should not, but there is no learning more valuable than first principle learning that you can receive by means of spending your own time on the ground. And I think for me personally, most of my learnings came by spending as much time closer to my community. And even today, I would do this. Every quarter, I will hold an owner town hall where all our owners would come in and meet. Frankly, I had stopped doing this for 2 or 3 years, and I felt that in 2019, that was probably one of the mistakes. One of the most critical things for us is to constantly be connected to our roots. And ever since 2020, I've been doing this, and I think it's probably been one of the best use of my time in over the last few years. I think the next perspective that I wanted to take you through, again, something that has helped me over the years, is not wanting, while you should think about scale, not limiting yourself to that. I learned that even if you build a small business, with 2 employees wanting to make a difference to, your consumers, your vendors, and your ecosystem, that is good enough. Because, when I started, I think while I thought big, the resources I had was very limited. So my aspiration was, if I could build a business where I can manage 5 good guest houses in Gurgaon in the next 10 years, I would be very successful. And I think, because there was no immediate aspiration of large scale of business, I could focus a lot on basics. And again, something that, after 2019, I have started to focus a lot more on. That is, doing something good is a lot more important than doing something at scale. But what's interesting is if you do something good, scale follows by itself. Making sure that, the small business you run, if you do that well, I think scale follows is what I have learned. And I've learned this not just from my early days, but also by making mistakes where sometimes I probably focused more on scale and realized that doing things that don't scale well is probably more important than doing things that scale. I think I can't appreciate, share enough the value of, talent and teams around yourself. I don't come with any specialization, whether specialization of hospitality, finance, and any specific specialty. I don't have any of it. But I always consider the 2 things that I'm special at, or I have specialization at, is one, having clarity towards what problem we want to solve. So I always call myself Chief Clarity Officer in our company. And the second is to constantly make sure that I attract high quality talent who are more passionate than me in their daily jobs. I think I have been very lucky to get some fantastic leaders who have stayed with me for 6-7 years. The whole company is around 8 years old. And all through the good and tough times, they've all stayed together with a perspective of long-term value creation as their primary intent and purpose. And that comes with a lot of challenges, right? Like you'll have to take a step back sometimes and let your colleagues take the front seat. Sometimes in a conversation, your idea will not be the smartest idea because by design, you're not the most specialized in everything. And you'll have to probably eat the humble pie and say that maybe I got this wrong and some of my colleagues got it right. But I think all of those have been extremely valuable to me because if not for a high quality management team, there is no way we would have seen a lot of highs and lows, including most recently the pandemic, which for the travel businesses has not been a great time, as you can imagine. And within this, naturally the question is, all right, that's great, you've gotten this management team, but I'm just starting a new business. How do I get good talent and teams around myself? I will tell you this, that there is no science to it. It is brick by brick and it is hard work and there is no, shortcut. Like I gave you cheat sheet for many other things. Here, there is no cheat sheet. I wrote to over 100 people on LinkedIn, every person I could get around myself. I said, if you're a friend of mine, please introduce me to 2 people who you think highly of. I met everyone I could, and then eventually I could get someone who I thought was good, and that person also thought that wanted to come work with us. So this is an area where no matter how much time you spend, the lesser it is. But in the process, don't wait for people. Sometimes I see people waiting for saying, before I don't get a good technical co-founder or business co-founder, I will not start my business. Remember, until people see you going to deliver and win no matter what, they will not want to come join you. So please make sure that your momentum continues. Surround yourself with good people to learn from. I have always challenged, there is this very interesting thing that, back in the day, I think, somebody told me, which is saying that you only shine when the sun shines on you. So you have to search where the sunshine is and go there rather than the other way around. So I think people like Peter Thiel, Sonsan, of course, Mr. Munjal, Bejul, a lot of great people I've surrounded myself with. I think this is sort of my accelerated MBA over the years, because I get to learn from the great decisions and mistakes of successful people around myself. And you would always feel like, how does this impact my next quarter P&L? It does not, but it does change the probability of success 1 year out or 2 year out, which is primarily what one is pursuing. So I think I would encourage you to seek out people around yourself who you can learn from. And it doesn't have to be, in the early days, you will not get access to, some fantastic people. But, back in the day when I was starting, I used to write lots of cold emails. I used to write like, hundreds, if not thousands of cold emails asking people, can you give me 30 minutes of your time? I want to come learn from you. Few of the people will respond, but you should know that there are few people who will take that leap to try and help. You'd be surprised how many people care about other people wanting to be successful. I think, I'm coming towards the end. Perseverance. It's very easy to give up. For me, I think there were a lot of people encouraging me also to give up very quickly. And even it's funny that even when your business scales, different ways of giving up. Some people will tell you maybe there is an M&A transaction where somebody is looking to buy you. So why don't you use this as an opportunity to give up? And the key word for that is settle. People say that, now you should settle down. You've done enough. My perspective is never settle down. I mean, of course, I don't mean it from the perspective of, traditional ways of settle, but I think just from the perspective of, constantly being hungry, wanting to make a positive difference around yourself. And I think that's something that, I have always seen, that perseverance is unbelievably important, right? You will have one day when you'll feel like everything is falling down. You'll be surprised that if you persevere 1 year later, it will feel like, you're like nothing you can do will go wrong. In neither of the times you should feel like that is true. In times when you're feeling like everything is crashing, you should know that good times will come. And when you have great times, you should know that tough times will again come, and not to get ahead of yourself. Again, these are not things I'm sharing as knowledge. I'm just sharing my own experiences I've had. Some of this may be right or wrong. One specific thing that I have personally been spending a lot of time on, and I wanted to reiterate to all of you, the world is changing dramatically around ourselves. And a combination of left brain and right brain, this is the STEAM, as Mr. Munjal was saying as well, is exceptionally critical. And I've always said maybe attitude is more important than skill. I hold on to that. But there are some skills I encourage you to spend more time on. Skills like that of focusing on how AI, machine learning, metaverse or Web 3.0 is changing the world around ourselves. Spending more time on learning about it rather than saying, I don't understand it and I will not understand it, I think is very critical that, if you can, you spend the time to learn these. At OYO, I will tell you, you may think that, we are just running a hotel tech company. How is these things valuable to us? I wanted to share some examples that how things like these make a difference in everybody's lives. For example, our pricing is run through a platform called Plutus, which is powered by, deep learning algorithms. Our GPT-3, which is, a very critical enablement of new age AI and machine learning, helps us write basic descriptions, helps our customers write reviews and similar perspectives around themselves in terms of content building. And I can go on, but just the amount of value these new age technologies and the quantum leap that they will create around ourselves is fascinating. And I encourage all of you, regardless of the business you are in, to pursue this. Last but not the least, I wanted to end by saying that, there are a couple of things that I wanted to summarize. That is, first, good and not so good days come with each other. If you're surrounded by yourself with highly committed, highly passionate talent, you will tide through all the good and tough times. Pursuing things yourself first is valuable. And last is, if you're going to think anyway, think big while remaining perseverant. With this, thank you so much. And please don't take any of this as a perspective of I'm sharing, knowledge only. I'm just sharing my own experiences. So some of this may change over the years, but I'm just sharing the experiences I've had so far. With this, thank you so much. I wish you all the very best. I hope all of you become successful entrepreneurs, and you tell me that, we talk to each other in this session, and, you have become successful entrepreneurs in the future. God bless you. Wish best. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ritesh. Ritesh, may I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure, Bernard.
Starting a business at such a young age must have presented challenges. We have colleagues and guests with us today. Could you give us some insight into how you established your credibility at such a young age and how you overcame some of those potential prejudices?
Yeah, look, I think, first off, the world has been evolving quite quickly, right? I think back in the day, for young people to pursue a new business, they have to go through lots of challenges to convince their family, their friends, and then colleagues, and then vendors, even a bank to convince them to open your bank account. In the new world we live in, I think young entrepreneurs are encouraged to grow their business. We live in a country where there is a day dedicated for startups, right? We just recently had our National Startup Day announced. Young people, there's hardly any university I know today who doesn't encourage an entrepreneurship cell for pursuing new business ideas. So I think the world has dramatically changed. So that's one good news. And I was actually an example of it, that even the time I was starting, it wasn't as hard as I have heard it was maybe 10 or 15 years before I started. So let me start by acknowledging that while I did have challenges, they were relatively lesser. The second, I think, even more important was that I have learned talking first principle and talking logic is something that people appreciate. So, and sometimes not knowing something, it's okay to acknowledge that you don't know. If people see you as being authentic, honest, and genuinely wanting to make a difference, I have seen that people give you credence. There will always be that 5% people who don't appreciate it, but I think that's fine. I think I have always learned to double down on things that are working rather than pursuing things that are not.
Excellent, thank you. And could I ask a couple of questions that have come up in the Q&A?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you, Ritesh. This is truly inspirational. I really appreciate you sharing with us. One question is, how do you achieve these expanded goals within a very limited time frame? How do you accelerate that success? What insight can you share with us?
I think that's a great question, Bernard. First off, I think I'll tell you this. In our generation, or in the current world, unfortunately, there is a lot of pressure on people to get success quickly, right? Because everything is instant, and you can see everything on Instagram, Facebook, what all your friends are doing, and you constantly feel like, gosh, what am I doing in my life? I want to reiterate that, I have learned consistently that first off, there is no shortcut. Every overnight success is a 10-year-old story. So you should not be troubled about saying that, I need success in 3 years. Otherwise, look at my friend who's become so successful in life. I can tell you this, that what you see on social media from your friends, that's not the reality. The reality is far further than that. And don't pressurize yourself to get outcomes instantly. My encouragement for you will be, pursue success, pursue wanting to make a difference, and your job is to put in the input. The output will come as and when it comes. For some, it may come earlier, but it will come with different challenges. For some, it will come later, but it will eventually come if you put in your hard work. So, my encouragement will be is as and when you feel like, gosh, my friends are so much more successful and I have this limited time and I have not done enough, please remind yourself what I'm saying is that what you're seeing about your friend's story on social media, etc., is not the full truth. Please take your time. It is okay to wait, and you'll be successful eventually. Don't pressurize yourself too much.
No, I think that's great guidance. I really think that's on the button. Another question, just this will be the last one. You said that great intention kind of enables that scaling opportunity in an almost natural fashion. How important and how have you managed to achieve corralling that talent into a really effective team?
I think that's a very tough question. And, I will tell you how, I think specifically in the team, we've tried to make sure that our attitudes, our aspiration, our value system, especially our value system, are very, very simply connected, right? If you look at our entire management team, most of us come from tier 2, tier 3 towns. Most of our leaders are very well educated, have been very, very successful in their lives, doing really well. But went to great schools, did great jobs, but truly wanted to come in and make a big difference. This seemed like that opportunity. So each one of us are excited about impact. We of course love value creation more than the short-term compensation. But for us, value creation is not because of anything else, but just because it's a measure of the difference we can make around ourselves regularly. So this kind of, even though we all come from different backgrounds and different jobs and experiences and specialization, a common value system and a common aspiration, I think, binds us together, and that sort of has allowed us to make sure that we have great ambitions, but at the same time, we know our roots, where we come from, and we don't forget that.
Fantastic. I think that creating a value system and understanding within an enterprise is such a key skill, and you're obviously very good at it, Ritesh. Ritesh, I'd like to thank you very much for sharing with us today, and please remain engaged with us in MBCIE. Your experience will be invaluable. Thank you, sir.
It's an honor for me. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite Vineet Rai to share with us the power of a great business plan. A business plan is so important to our business. Vineet is the founder and chairman of Asvishka Group, an impact investment platform impacting millions of people across Asia and Africa using an entrepreneurship-based development approach. Vineet believes in building impact ecosystems to deliver real impact, as enshrined in the vision of the Asvishka Group. The group's ecosystems include Asvishka Capital, offering unique cash flow-based business loans to micro, small and medium businesses. How valuable that must be. And Intelcap, the Asvishka Group has 7,000 employees, manages assets in excess of $1.2 billion US, while aligning the group to 13 out of 17 sustainable development goals, and how important that is in the modern world. Vineet has received numerous awards, and most recently, Vineet Rai and Swati Rai, their co-founder, were awarded the Faces of Vibrant Bharat 2021 by the Grant Thornton. wow. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Vineet, over to you. The power of a great business plan.
May I come in for a moment again, Vineet, before you start? Bernard, I'd like to say a big thank you to Ritesh for his wonderful straight talking address. Ritesh is a unique success, but Vineet is a completely different level. He's not just successful himself. Vineet has helped create many entrepreneurs. He's a force multiplier for good. And it's not just, Vineet, I would request you not only to talk about a good business plan, but also talk about a business plan for good. Because that is what he does, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Munjal. Very grateful that you invited me. Mr. S.K. Rai, who reached out to me and asked me to come here. Bernard, who did such a beautiful job of introducing. I don't think so. My introduction is as good. But to those who are listening to me, I'm actually a forester by training. So for me to be actually talking about a business plan is quite ironical. But because I'm a forester, and since I have lived in a forest not for a very significant part now, but when I started out, it was a significant part of my life. I have been very closely associated with a term called ecosystem. Over a period of my time, as things have evolved, I have learned that that term ecosystem is very critical. When we think about a business, when we think about the world, and we think about sustainability, given that the first time in our history, we actually are challenged with survival at what we call the global scale. Across the board, across the 7 billion, all of us are challenged. And it has never happened before. Even at World War I, World War II, a significant part of humanity still believed that they were not at risk of being wiped out. But today with COVID, I think first time, the saying, the Indian civilizational saying, Vasudev Kutumbakam, has come true. We are actually one civilization, we are one family, and our survival is together. So I'll start with this context to talk about the power of a good business plan. I will not be a great guy in terms of giving you very good management-oriented lessons, but I'll try to tell you about what I think is a business plan. And generally, people make a business plan because an investor has asked for it. And therefore, my first advice to you is business plan is never made for an investor. There are many different ways of understanding and articulating a business plan, but let me tell you my way. It's an honest conversation between the founding members of a startup on the problems they are solving. And it is very important because if you do not know what problem you are solving and you don't have an honest conversation, you may actually be not writing a business plan that you genuinely believe in. I think the second part of that problem is the scale that is possible. And the third is there a unit economics? All the three things, when articulated both in words and numbers, is essentially a business plan. And to me, this is very important for you to understand. You do it for yourself and for nobody else, not for the investor, not for your friend, not for your family, not for your management school. You do it for yourself. And if you do it for anybody else, chances are that's not a business plan that's going to be successful. So when you start up at any given point of time, anywhere in the world, start by believing you are doing this for yourself. What should be your expectations from the business plan? Or what is my expectation from my business plan or your business plan or any business plan? First of all, it should be an articulation of the vision of the founders. Whatever you want to do, how you articulate. It should express the skill and capability of the team that you carry. It should very clearly lay out the problem at hand and its scale. So the problem that you're trying to solve and what is the scale you're trying to do. And finally, if you're not able to articulate through this process, how your solution create value. And then value is actually a very different term than valuation. So keep that in mind. Value is about what you are going to do. And it's not just about how you will make money, but how you will actually benefit your consumers. There is a significant difference between making money and benefiting your consumers, but there is very limited difference between benefiting your consumers and making money. So if you benefit your consumers, you will surely make money. But if you're only thinking about making money, and not benefiting your consumers, chances are you're not going to make a great business. You might be a great trader, but not a great businessman. It's also very important to think a business plan will not make you rich by shortcut. That's the biggest mistake you will make. It's also not an ego trip for yourself. So please don't try to make a business plan because you think making a business plan will make you distinct, different, find you a better boyfriend or a girlfriend. All that doesn't happen, unfortunately. A lot of people I have interacted with actually do feel that. It's also not about you as an individual or your friend or whosoever. It's about the problem that you're trying to solve. And it is seriously not about raising money itself. So just keep this at the back of your mind when you are thinking about a business plan, the do's and don'ts. Key ingredients, you should have identified a problem and you should be able to articulate what that problem is, why you want to solve it. You should be able to identify a management team. Remember that there are many different things, but a great idea with a poor management team is worthless. A mediocre idea with a great management team could actually be very worthwhile. So the idea is important, but the management team probably is way more important. And the management team includes your co-founders and your key employees who will come and join you and build the edifice of the business that you're trying to start. Business model, I talked about unit economics earlier. It's very important to actually understand what is it that you are doing, and the money that you spend should be actually a little less than the money that you will earn. Amazingly, having spent, being a forester, when I went to MBA school, I spent some time at IIM Ahmedabad. I realized that the best management skill forget to teach that business is about earning more money than spending. As you can, and it's actually amazing. A lot of people don't understand it. And I see it continuously as an investor. Financial model is important. Remember, financial model is not an Excel sheet. Excel sheet is a very important tool to make a financial model, but it is not the skills in the Excel sheet that makes a financial model. It is the assumptions behind those Excel models that are critical. So when I, as Vineet Rai, look at a financial model, I do not necessarily actually look at whether because it's very easy for any smart person with Excel sheet capabilities to demonstrate that the revenues will continue to grow at 175% year on year, come what may, come COVID, come whatever. And that profits will also continue to scale. That's very easy to do. The assumptions behind them are therefore critical, and you must understand and explain them. And finally, you should know what is it that you're looking for. In today's day and age, you will require capital to build scale. And at some point of time, you'll have to return the money. And it's very, very important for you to actually take all these points into account as you start building a business plan. One thing that is going to be true with you is howsoever old you are, 16-year-old, 25-year-old, 35-year-old, you will always be besieged with self-doubts. There is never a time when you are starting up that you will feel confident. It's actually part of the business process. If you are confident, chances are you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So therefore, self-doubts and parts and parcel, and therefore do not beat yourself down. Doubts will stay, questions will keep coming. You have to keep refining, keep learning, but you have to continue to march forward. I think I was listening to Ritesh, and that's what probably in some sense he was also alluding to, that you have to move on. And I think a very important point that he mentioned, which I actually genuinely believe in, have your ambitions very large, but when you are actually walking on the road, keep an eye for the truck that is coming on. So you may want to dream and have an aeroplane and must be flying, traveling to Mars. But when you're walking on the road, look out for the car that will blow you away. So keep your ambitions high, but when you are executing, always look at the reality that faces you. When you are actually preparing for a fundraise, you have to ask yourself whether you are actually saying the same thing, you're mewing or you're woofing. You just need to know, are you different? Is there something that you have to offer that makes you slightly different from others? Trying to stand out is very important. Trying to gel in may not necessarily actually get you the right attention from the investors. It's very important to actually exemplify your team expertise in how you stand out. That's a critical part of your thought process. And you have to be consistent and thoughtful. So There will be lots of questions. These questions come from very different angles. Sometimes in our eagerness to respond to every question, you may actually be making a bigger mistake. So therefore, even if you don't understand the question or the question is out of the syllabus, that means you're not prepared for it, stay consistent with what you are saying. So don't try to actually cover up or try to actually act as if you knew. People are smart enough, they can see through. And so therefore, consistent and thoughtful is very important. When you are in the business of writing a business plan, you must also convince yourself that you are not in a short race. Fundraising is an endless activity. Business plan is actually a starting point. So prepare like you prepare for a marathon. Do not prepare as if you're on a 100-meter race. There is no pot of gold at the end of the business plan. The journey has not even started. Developing a fundraising strategy, well, there are many millions of answers I can give you. I think the most important thing is to ask yourself, what do you need? So if you're looking for $100,000 and you're going to knock at SoftBank's doors, you are actually at the wrong door, so don't go there. Ask yourself, what is your business? What do you want? How much money do you want? What money is relevant? And then go and identify. So do you need an angel investor? Do you need a high net worth individual? Do you need a family, large family offices? Do you need a venture fund? Do you need a private equity? Depending on the stage, your maturity, your own ambition, make up those choices and write on the knock on the right door. Don't knock on every door that looks like a capital provider. When you are getting in front of an investor, it's very important to understand that the languages that we both speak, the entrepreneur's language and the investor's language is pretty much like a guy speaking chaste Hindi talking to a person from London. And it's very important to therefore understand that you have to learn to understand each other's language. Investors are actually meeting entrepreneurs all the time. So most investors understand what an entrepreneur is saying, but most entrepreneurs will struggle to understand what an investor is saying. That's the reality. My general suggestion is take your time, and therefore you need to actually have advisors who can help you actually understand the language of interaction. But do ask the investor whether they can contribute to your strategy. How will they play a role in your governance? What kind of transparency questions they will ask? And will they contribute or support you in multiple fundraisers that you have to do? These are bare minimum questions that you should ask and engage with investors. Do not try to run away with capital just because it is available. So having some level of engagement with the investor is very important. I have seen a lot of people get fatigued by their chasing by the capital raise and get very excited or ask any questions to the investors. It's not necessarily a great strategy. You heard from Ritesh about perseverance, but to be an entrepreneur, you really need to have 3 Ps. I'm not necessarily an academician, but I'm still using a very academic term, 3 Ps. I know a lot of people say we are passionate. Passion is very important, but it's not a sufficient condition. So passion is critical. Saying that I'm passionate is important, but perseverance probably is even more important. So passion backed with perseverance, and at the end of it, having patience. This is an endless journey. You think you would finish one fundraise and the story is over. Unfortunately, there will be another fundraise. And when you are on your 4th or 5th fundraise, you will realize that the first guy has to go out. So there is an exit and there is an IPO. And once you are at an IPO, you have to do on a quarterly basis, you have to report back. So you have to have all the 3 Ps if you want to be in this. Guys, you have just finished a brilliant fundraise, but the hard work just has begun. Your business plan has finished. Your hard work just begins. I don't think so my life has been this interesting or entertaining as the presentation has been, but I just wanted to take you through something which you can carry with yourself. And that's why I shared this. But at some point of time in my life, I'll get an opportunity again. I will actually tell you my own story, which was slightly different from the presentation I made. Bernard, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Vineet. What an entertaining presentation. Certainly captured my attention. But the points are so pertinent. Could I ask you a question?
Please.
I found within our incubators we run that a number of our younger entrepreneurs coming through are wanting to use different methods of presenting their business case, their business plan, things like business model canvas. What are your views on the modern technology and how, early stage business can still present their business case, but in slightly different ways than 20-page dissertations?
Yeah, well, I think, Bernard, the fact of the matter is that in my own lifetime, in the last 20 years, since the time I became an entrepreneur and an investor, I have seen the way you engage with investors through a business plan has changed quite dramatically. I have seen people who have come and written, so they came with no business plan and actually used a board to write down what they wanted to do. And then I have people who have come with 70-page business plan, but did not actually remember most of what they had written. So you come across all kinds of entrepreneurs. I think my general submission to any entrepreneur at any given time is that you must ask yourself, do you have a problem that you're trying to solve, or do you have a solution in search of a problem? Invariably, and this is actually, Bernard, interestingly very true for the first world countries. I met a lot of entrepreneurs from the developed world where they have a great solution in search of a problem. And generally the second world and third world countries, developing countries, and even in Africa where we do a lot of work, people are actually trying to solve a real problem. So they identify a problem and then they're trying to solve it. Solutions are normally very exotic when it comes from the first world, but the problems unfortunately is missing. And the solutions that I have seen in the third world are actually very simplistic. In India, we have actually seen the whole journey of very simple solutions. And now we are actually at a stage where we are seeing reasonably complex solutions being offered to reasonably complex problems as well. So I think general learning is what I have seen is when you are in third world, you see simple problems, you come up with simple solutions. When you move to the second world, which is a developing economy, a slightly more developing economy, then you look at very complex social problems. Like, for example, you see large amount of waste and you want to convert that waste into wealth. And then you've tried to figure out how do you do it without government actually paying for it. And that becomes a very complex solution to a very complex social problem. And then when you go to the first world where they have already actually solved very unique kind of problems. I mean, you look at what Elon Musk is doing, he's trying to take us to Mars. Now that's a fairly complex problem, but I think it's a complex solution to a problem that we still have not yet reached to. I think out of 7 billion, probably 6.985 billion probably will never go to Mars. So therefore, it's not a solution that probably the world is in desperate need of. And that's how I actually define it. So some of these challenges remain, but instruments, the way you approach it, how you do it will keep evolving. And I think it is evolving given the attention period that people have, especially investors have, is very short. So a unique, different way of presenting is very useful.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely clear. You have to be solving a problem that people want. You cannot come up with, as you say, these rich technical solutions to problems that perhaps don't exist. Therefore, you have no customer and therefore no business. Just beautiful summary. Thank you, Vineet, for sharing your time, expertise and interest with us today. And again, if I may be so bold, can you remain as part of our MBCIE community? Your expertise will be invaluable to our clients as they work through their programs with us. Thank you.
Bernard. I'll be very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bernard, before you bring Ishita on, can I take another minute?
Yes, please.
I want to expand on your question and the response that Vineet just gave you. And incidentally, Ritesh also spoke about the same thing. The reality here is that we live in a country where there are still 200 plus million people who do not get 2 square meals a day. So it will be very helpful and useful for us to understand what does that actually mean? So there are real problems out there. So whether you call it the bottom of the pyramid, you call it the underprivileged, you call it the poor, you call it those who are not serviced by the regular systems of government, community systems, and business, I think there's an amazing, amazing opportunity. So there are two ways to look at this. One is on the human angle. Being fair, it is important that all good quality infrastructure and facilities are made available to everyone, whether it's education, healthcare, nutrition, clean drinking water, safe housing, and the like. On the flip side, there is an opportunity. So if you don't do this, you have a potential of creating a negative society. You have the potential of raising crime rates, because beyond a point, if somebody's starving, she or he doesn't care what they do to get food for their children, and they will do what it takes. But if you're able to provide all of these facilities, if you're able to have them live a better quality of life, these same individuals will become consumers. They become consumers of goods and services. And by the way, there is enough maths to show. I don't need to go into the numbers now. And Ishita may have actually done some of this work, that India has the potential to create the world's largest growth market. If you do the right thing by this large community, which is currently underserved. I'm not even talking of the solutions of high order that you just alluded to, Bernard. But if you just tap this, it is an amazing opportunity just sitting there. So for good reasons, both for social reasons, human reasons, economic reasons, and business reasons, there is every reason for us to focus on this end of the market, to focus on getting all the basic goods and services out there, and ensuring that we make them confident, comfortable citizens of this nation and the world, and turn them into consumer and growth and growth champions for literally anything and everything that you do. Because human nature is to want to do better for yourself and your families. Once they become consumers, they will want to raise the standards. So in India, already at the top end of India, by the way, India is completely global. We have the same consumption patterns as any place else in the world. But that's a thin slice at the top. The idea is there is a huge market sitting out there at many layers below that. So as you touch each one, you find a big problem and then an even bigger opportunity. So that's what I would recommend to the many, many smart, young, passionate, hungry individuals who are there on this call today, and the many millions who are not. So Vineet, thank you very much for all the amazing work that you do. And that was, I agree with Bernard, that was a good exposition of what a plan should be, and especially what it should not be. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, so it's now a great pleasure to introduce Ishita Agarwal, who's going to talk to us today about the Startup India programs and policies. We're very privileged and pleased that Ishita could share her time today with us. These national and regional programs are so important to our startup community. Ishita has over 14 years of experience focused on early stage startup ecosystem in India. She has been involved with multidisciplinary responsibilities, including program design and management, policy planning and implementation. Part of the founding team at Atoll Innovation Mission, Ishita has been working at the intersection of policy, technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. She has been part of AIM's journey as it progressed, creating impact at scale. She's been directly responsible for the design and implementation of institution building programs that nurture tech entrepreneurs with a view to democratize innovation and entrepreneurship within India. Prior to AIM, She worked with several business in business operational models for different business incubators and has a rich experience in the execution of these models. She's mentored several entrepreneurs and helped them build scalable businesses. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will hand over to you to share your valuable insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard, for having me here, and a very warm welcome and a good afternoon to all the dignitaries, entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs who are with us today in this session. I have been given the very difficult task to talk about all the government policies and programs that are being put in place for the entrepreneurs. But before that, is everyone able to see my screen? Okay, great. I've tried to put everything together on a very brief presentation, but this is a very high level presentation, and I will very quickly take you through the various government initiatives, programs, schemes, departments that are supporting innovators and entrepreneurs today. And let me talk more about it as I go forward. Okay, I think there's enough discussion on this slide. I'm not going to talk a lot about it. Every one of us know that India is the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. We have 80 plus unicorns, about half of them created only in the last year. All this was largely set into motion by the Startup India Action Plan, which was launched by our Honorable Prime Minister in January 2016. But you know what, I think I will take another few seconds on this slide to mention that this launching the Startup India Action Plan has not only brought about a change in the programs and policies that are there to support entrepreneurs, but I think it has brought about a change in the psyche of everyone in the country. After the launch of the Startup India program, startups have actually become mainstream. Earlier, it was, oh, okay, he's doing a startup.
Sorry to interrupt. We can only see your first slide.
Okay, let me try and share the screen again. How about now? Okay.
Thank you.
Are you able to see the next slide, the change in slide? Okay, great. So like I was saying, the launch of the Startup India program, the most important change that it brought about in my mind is the change in the psyche of the people. After this program was launched, doing a startup has become reputed. If someone is doing a startup, a student is trying a startup, earlier the parents would try to discourage him, but now there is a certain amount of respect, and your friends look up to you if you're doing a startup. So that is the change that the Startup India plan has brought about, and I think hats off to the Prime Minister for being able to create change, behavioral change at scale in the country. To give you a glance of all the initiatives that are there in relation to startups and supporting entrepreneurs, there's the Startup India program, which is set up by the DPIIT. Department of Science and Technology has schemes. Atle Innovation Mission, the body that I represent, and I will talk about it in more detail slightly later. There is CSIR, which is a chain of research institutions in India. There is Department of Biotechnology, which has set up BIRAC, Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, which is focused on supporting biotech, pharma, and healthcare related startups. There is ICAR, there's Ministry of Agriculture, Agni, which is the newest kid on the block, which is trying to bring together innovations with the industry. And there is Geeta. And these are central level initiatives. There are also state level initiatives. For example, we have the Maharashtra State Innovation Council. There's the Telangana State Innovation Council. Gujarat has a very strong student startup policy, so on and so forth. Agni, a lot of you may not know because it is a very recent initiative introduced by the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Prime Minister. What Agni tries to do is bring together all the stakeholders, which is the solution providers on one side, which is the innovators, the people who are constantly coming up with new ideas, new products, new technologies and solutions. And on the other side, they bring the companies, the solution seekers who could commercialize the innovations that are happening either in the academia or the R&D, the research labs of the country. I think I will skip DST and BIRAC because they are very well-established institutions. And their support that they provide to innovators is fairly well known. So there is a good number of schemes and programs that are available across the value chain of innovation. I think, let me try and minimize this. Okay. So there is a good number of programs that BIRAC has, which are across the value chain of innovation at various stages of innovators as the innovations come in. Similarly, DST, MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and IT, the Ministry of Small, Medium and Medium Enterprises has a number of schemes which are mapped across the value chain of innovation and product life cycle. I cannot get into the details of all these schemes. In fact, some of them are now in their version 2 and a more updated version for that particular scheme or program has been released. But this is only to give you an idea of how the government of India, through its various departments, ministries, programs, and schemes, is making life easy for the aspiring entrepreneur and for the entrepreneur. It's making it easy to get grants. These are most of them over here that are showcased are largely grant giving schemes. So if there is an innovation, you want to create a prototype out of it, you want to test it, you want to get funding for scaling it up, there are programs available at various, depending on where you are in your innovation life cycle. There is Geeta, which is largely focusing on collaborating or bringing Indian innovators close to other countries and creating that bridge. There are other resources which are available. Startup India Toolkit is a very, very useful toolkit for all startups in India. There was a Prarambh Startup Summit sessions which happened specifically on government schemes. This happened about a year back. Very recently, we had the Startup Innovation Week, which was conducted by Startup India. There is Agri Innovate India, which is for, as the name suggests, agri innovators. There's the MeitY Startup Hub. There's the Startup India Startup Hub. Okay, so far I was talking about the more commonly known startup schemes of the government. There are some other initiatives which are happening. There is the Kerala Startup Mission, there is the GEM Launchpad. So like Amazon has the Launchpad to encourage startups or small businesses, Government of India's Amazon, which is the government e-marketplace, which is government's captive Amazon, has also a Launchpad, which is meant only for startups. And I am aware of startups that are making use of this Launchpad to be able to sell their services to the government. Oil and sector companies have a separate initiative that fund startups in the green economy space. Indian Railways has been doing startup challenges. I'm aware of various others. Airports Authority of India is trying to, and this is a very recent initiative where, given the COVID scenario that we are in, Airports Authority of India has rolled out a challenge, which is now in its final stages right now, where they are encouraging touchless travel across the door-to-door journey of a person, traveling through airports, of course. And this is a consortium of various airports that have come together along with the authorities. So there is a startup piece, and then there is the backend, which is controlled by the government, which is the various authorities taken together are rolling out challenges. This is This should give you an idea of what is the kind of support that the government is doling out at this moment to make sure that the challenges of the people of India are solved by our own innovators and by our own startups. So like earlier, Mr. Sunil Manjal and Vineet were discussing, there is a huge amount of opportunity which is there. We need to solve our own challenges. Do we need a very large tech company from the Western civilizations to come and give us flying cars? Well, I don't know. I mean, that's for you to think about. Or there are basic challenges that we need to solve, which no one else will take care about, because these are our challenges and we need to think of them ourselves. There's arsenic in water in the eastern part of the country. There's fluoride in the water, underground water in the western part of the country. The government has taken up a huge challenge in the scheme that it announced, which was about Har Ghar Jal Se Nal, which means providing tap water to every household in the country. And in the few years' time, we want to be we are working towards that target. In a few years' time, we want to achieve it. But it brings about its own set of problems of how to incorporate that. One is, of course, the source of water, but also the metering, the measurement, because there's a certain liters of water that will be given to every household in a day's time or a year's time. So it's about democratization of measurement of water. It is about reducing the misuse. It is about reducing the wastage of water. There's so many aspects to it. So I think Mr. Sunil Manjal was was articulating very well where the opportunity lies. And for all the startups, all the aspiring entrepreneurs, all the students who are here with us on this call today, I would humbly request them to please think about the need of the society which is around you, and then take it forward from there. Very quickly, I know I've taken a lot of time already. Very quickly, I would talk about what Atal Innovation Mission is. We are housed in Niti Aayog, and I am one of the founding members of Atal Innovation Mission. This has been set up as an umbrella body for innovation and entrepreneurship in the country. And like I said, there are so many departments, programs, schemes that are supporting entrepreneurs and innovators. And what we are trying to do is make sure that all these different parts are talking to each other, so that at the end of the day, the ultimate beneficiary, which is the innovator, aspiring entrepreneur, is the person who gets benefited. And the two targets that we have as Atal Innovation Mission is a specific mission to encourage innovation and entrepreneurship in the country. One is to change the mindset of people or persons or citizens and give them the confidence that they can become innovators as they grow up. And the other thing is to create an ecosystem which will foster state-of-art entrepreneurs. And we are trying to reach out to creating encouraging or inculcating the habit of innovation in students. So we have our Atal Tinkering Labs, which actually provides the opportunity of tinkering to students and makes them habituated to become innovators. In fact, let me go to the next slide, where we have this various interventions of Atal Innovation Mission, which are again across the value chain or the journey of an innovator. So right at the early stages, we are catching hold of potential innovators at a young age, and we are going to schools, grade 6th to grade 12th onwards, and we are creating maker spaces. We have done that, and the slide is a little dated. We have now more than 9,600 tinkering labs set up in schools across the length and breadth of the country. This is 90% of the districts of India are covered, and these tinkering labs sponsored by Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, provide a very, very innovative curriculum, I mean, this is not related to the academic curriculum at all, but there is a lot of projects, there's a lot of training which is given to the students to be able to understand frontier technologies. So as they grow up, they will have all the 21st century skill sets that they need to become innovators, to become global citizens. We are setting up community innovation centers because we want to democratize innovation and we want to democratize entrepreneurship. So we are taking entrepreneurship away from the the Bangalores and the Gurgaons of the country, and we are trying to create an innovation ecosystem in the interiors, the tier 2, the tier 3 places, and we are trying to set up community innovation centers so that the community, farmers, housewives, polytechnic students, factory workers, they should also have a platform to be able to go out and innovate. 15 such community innovation centers are in the process right now. 11 of them are already operational. At incubation centers, 65 of them have already been set up. We have also been able to bring about innovation in the way that the Ministry of Defense procures, and we've rolled out IDEX challenges. It's currently in the 5th round right now. This is a success story which has been spawned out of Atal Innovation Mission, and it is now managed by the Department of Innovation, DIO, sorry, under the Ministry of Defense production. We also have Aneek Atal New India Challenges and Atal Research and Innovation for Small Enterprises. These are challenges where we give funding directly to innovators who are solving the socioeconomic challenges posed to us or given to us by the ministries of the Government of India. So I think I will just run through some of these things very quickly. This is the kind of impact that the Tinkering Labs have been able to make. More than 5,000 mentors of change are working with us on a pro bono basis to make sure that the students understand how do you create drones, what is AI all about, what does blockchain mean, how can they make small robots or small projects or small products that can actually change lives of their community and in the places that they live. These are some of the open innovation resources for which are available on the website of Atal Innovation Mission. In fact, and they are about the most frontier technologies are covered. I would in fact challenge some of you to go to this website, look at the modules and test your own knowledge against the modules that are there. For children of grade 6th onwards, they are simplified in a way that children can actually download these modules, they can self-study, and in the COVID period when they were not able to go to schools, they could have created drones from their houses. The incubators that we are supporting has been able to in turn support more than 2,500 startups so far, out of which about 1/3 of them are women-led startups. There are collectively the ANIC and the ARISE challenges are supporting more than around, I think, 50 technology innovators, and we are trying to take their innovations right from a lab level to a deployment stage. Some of the innovations that have come out of the Aneek challenges. The Atal Community Innovation Centers I talked about, where, sorry about that. We are targeting sustainable development goals to be met and try and focus on the problems of that particular community through entrepreneurship. Over and above these strategic interventions that I spoke about, we do a lot of programs like the iLeap, which are virtual demo days for connecting startups with investors or enterprises. The Prime program is to encourage deep tech startups in the country, which is the need of the hour right now, to be able to solve some of the challenges that all of us have been talking about. UNCDF aim is about internationalization of Indian startups and taking them to other markets and training them on it. There are various other. Sorry, is someone saying something? Okay. There are various other challenges that we keep partnering with, and these are all opportunities for all of the students, innovators, researchers to become a part of our journey and to be able to create solutions not only for our country, but for the world. So with that, I would just request everyone to think big, think scale, think of Atmanirbhar Bharat, innovate, invent, solve for India, and solve for the world. I'll take a pause over here and just in the as a conclusion, just say that the government of India is rooting for you in a big way. Please go ahead, please take the plunge, become an innovator, and add to the growth of your country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashita.
Bernard, before you speak, let me take a minute to introduce you also. You deserve greater introduction that we have planned, basically because we want to surprise you. Ishita, thank you very much. Thank you for a great presentation. And thank you for inviting me to come and discuss what we are doing. Since my team is here, I'd like to let you know who are the people involved into this. First and foremost is Sunil Munjal. He is the steam house of the steam house and other initiatives that we are taking. I'm a real kind of steam house. He makes my life miserable as to what we are doing. I have a question also on his behalf, which will ask before you can leave. And what we are doing at MBCI is one part is education, which we'll be doing with the BCU. And we didn't discover it. Look at this is what a power of the brand. We didn't go to BCU to ask for it. BCU thought that we are a good partner. So they came over here and it was so delightful that we are known for the industry and somebody thinks that our contribution in education and in healthcare, etc., can warrant attention from one of the universities which has 30,000 students from 90 countries. Anyway, long story short, I don't have much of a time. What we are doing at MBCI is one is education, as I said. Second part that we are going to do is we are going to encourage, one is that all the people are here. One is that we are providing consultancy on how to modernize, take care of this. And we have got a director for that operation, Mr. Ajay Sinha. I'll introduce to him after a minute. Then also there is a stream of a startup. As I said, help them and an incubator center. But before that, we are incubating boys right from our schools. We have got 2 very wonderfully laid down, equipped tinkering labs, which purposely have not come for their registration with you because we wanted to do something which we are very proud and showcasing. Most of the tinkering labs in colleges and schools are still, you can say, more of a show business. But with Sunil Munjal there at the helm of us, he won't permit that kind of a thing to happen. That's how is the driver. So first of all, we will establish ourselves. We'll come to a level, then I'll bring you out here and show what a tinkering lab should be there to start from the class 3 or class 4. But give me some time before I invite you there. The other part that we are going to do is
I should add here, Mr. Raj, that we do have 2 Agarwal innovation initiatives, one at ISD at Mohali and one at BMU in Gurgaon. There are 2 are already operational.
Right, sir, they are there. There are very many.
This has to be a bigger initiative. This has to be a bigger initiative than both of those.
Not at the cost of contradiction, believe me. Most of the, including Vidya Mandir, this, that, and that, everybody has got it. And they get money from us. I don't want to seek that money. I want to do a real contribution as you want to it. And that's what the challenge is with me. Similarly, on the incubator center, we are driven by Bernard, whose introduction Dr. Prem Kumar will give formally. But before that, let me introduce my colleagues. One is the academic head, Dr. Prem Kumar, who is Director Education, plus he is also involved in MBCI. And the second is, I mentioned earlier, is Ajay Sinha. So, and what I will do is, I'll first introduce Ajay Sinha, and then I'll ask Dr. Prem Kumar to take over and formally introduce Bernard to the audience here. If there is anything that depends upon it, you want to ask a question, but let me ask you a question as well as Vineet. You see, we are in a place which is a rural in background, and healthcare is something that needs to be done. What is Vineet, you or anybody else is doing other than A class cities? What is happening in the B class cities or smaller mofussil towns, especially in the case of agriculture? How you are supporting them, or if you are supporting them at all, or Ishita, your initiative is doing any startups there. And similarly, what is happening to it was very clear in COVID also. Lots of things were done in the major towns which are more affected, but the small towns and villages were left at the mercy of the God. So I'm sorry, I'm calling you back to speak about it, but I really want to know, what is it that investors are doing in this country, and you represent investors who's considered to be impact investors. Then Ishita will answer what's happening. Sorry, I'm requesting to answer. I'm not saying answer. I'm requesting that if there is anything happening in the startup side, because whatever we see is IT related, this, that, and other. Is this, that, and other? So is anything really happening on the startup front or innovation front in case of the agriculture economy or healthcare? We need first of you.
So I'll give you an example, sir. Samastipur, you would agree, is a mufassil town. Samastipur, would you agree, is remote enough? So I'll take you to Samastipur. Samastipur. So I'll take you to Samastipur. Samastipur is in Bihar. It's really back of beyond. And today, one of the fastest growing agri-tech company is emerging from Samastipur by two guys who neither went to IIT nor went to IIM. The reason and the idea that they came up with is because they were from Samastipur. And in that town, they basically decided to, so I met them and they said that we want to build a grain bank. I said, I have heard of all kind of banks. I've never heard of a grain bank. So they said, listen, if you look around, all our people who are living in Samastipur actually have only grains. And the problem with the grain is it's a crop. When you harvest the crop, you don't know where to store it. In India, the warehousing system has been designed in such a manner that it is actually always for traders. So if you want to actually store, there's something called Bhusawal, and Bhusawal has a 40 to 50% wastage. Now, they have come up with this unique idea that we will set up warehouses in the villages without actually investing our own money. And then we will digitize the warehouse and offer the warehouse as a bank to the farmers, saying you can bring one bag of grain and I will store it. But the moment you bring this grain will be treated like money. So when you go to a bank, you deposit the cash. The cash that you deposit is not the cash you get back. So you deposit a note with a certain number, but when you give it back, when you try to draw it, you don't get the same note, you get any note. So they said, we will actually just make a grain bank. And the interesting aspect of this grain bank that they said was, if we are able to do it all over Bihar, we would actually be storing 2 lakh tons of grains, and then we can make this 2 lakh tons of grain fungible. And once we make it fungible, we would actually challenge the basic idea of scale, like it has happened in microfinance. And lo and behold, so this is 2015, sir. I met him, gave them 2 crores just for an experimentation, because I realized this is too exotic. Samastipur is too far away. But if I don't invest, nobody else will. So I went ahead and invested 2 crores. Now I will cut the story from what happened to that 2 crore to next 2 crores and next 2 crores. So I invested 8 crores for 5 years. And in 2020, we finally cracked the problem. Today, 2022, the company is going to do a turnover this year of 160 crores. It is expected to grow at around 500 to 1000% year on year from here. And just to give you an idea, exactly 2 years back, it was doing 22 crores. So it has gone from 22 crores to 40 and then to 160 crores this year. And we expect it to cross 1000 crores next year. It has just about stepped out of Bihar. Till date, it was only in Bihar. I think there is no dearth of entrepreneurial capability. There is also no dearth of caliber. What is missing is the capital that is willing to take the risk in broken ecosystems. And it's very important for us to understand that when you actually give money to somebody, when you give money in Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore or Hyderabad or Chennai, you have a reasonably grown ecosystem. And the challenges of a Samastipur are quite unique. Attracting talent, big challenge. Electricity, now the electricity challenge is reduced quite significantly, but earlier not having electricity was a huge challenge. Getting people to join a company that is headquartered in Samastipur is even bigger challenge, because even if you hire a person in Bangalore, he says, "Arey man, companies from Samastipur, I don't know whether it is fraud or reality." So I think there are some very real challenges that comes. And therefore, the world has very limited ecosystems. Silicon Valley as an ecosystem, even US has struggled to actually replicate. And from that perspective, I would say, and being probably, I also set up India's first incubator. So taking my journey from 1997 to today, I can only tell you that we have come a long distance in democratizing incubation. And I think it's also very important that we must think about physical incubators. Something that I have actually floated to Mr. Amitabh Kant a couple of times, but will continue to say so, that there is a need, and we built a virtual incubator called Startup Wave around 6-7 years back, which continued to operate. And our claim was that we will actually incubate entrepreneurs from Ranchi to Rwanda. And I deliberately took it because we were operating in Rwanda as well at that time. From Ranchi to Rwanda, and we will make you choose. We will let the entrepreneur choose their journey, define their own journey from where they are. Because remember that, sir, even in Samastipur, there is an entrepreneur who doesn't even know how to articulate their problem, versus there are entrepreneurs who actually understand the problem, are very willing to articulate, like the guys from Argos, the story I told you about. So I think in every society, at every level, in every geography, there are entrepreneurs at different level of growth, different level of maturity, and different level of thinking. They may not know English. They may not know the language of the elite in that sense. And English remains a language of elite. There is no doubt in my mind about it. So, अगर आप हिंदी में बात कर सकते हैं, अगर आप local languages में discuss कर सकते हैं, अगर आप उनकी articulation के ऊपर ना जाके उनकी capability के ऊपर देते हैं, then you can actually build a large number of enterprises across India. Avishkar has been the first investor in India which has invested in UP, Bihar, Orissa, Jharkhand, and we have built and every low income state in India. And we have not built 1, 2, we have built 70 enterprises, one after another in these states. So you can build all kinds of enterprises, you can build scale. The risk that is needed to build value and the returns that you will generate will take a long period of time. Unfortunately, there is not many investors who are willing to do that. So in Bangalore, you can make money in 5 years. In Odisha, if you're going to invest in a company, trying to make money in 5 years is quite difficult because of the challenges that are associated. And therefore, I am actually yesterday also, and I've been imploring to both the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister to consider impact investing as part of government's intervention thought process and support impact funds to actually behave differently. Otherwise, right now we are under the same pump as any tech fund sitting in Bangalore. I have asked the same question that any good fund anywhere, I am asked to deliver the same returns in the same time period. And I think till the time we don't change the thought process behind money to create value in far-flung areas, we will continue to have the challenge that we have. Sorry for a long answer.
But a very useful answer. I'm sorry that we are diverting from Ishita's session and from asking her questions and getting on to Bernard's next session. But I think this is an important point that you raised, Vinny. Incidentally, I have made the same suggestion that you just mentioned, policymakers. I don't think impact investment itself is understood well enough in India yet. I think we need to go down one level to explain what this is and why this is. And this will instantly, in a sense, ring a bell with all the key individuals who matter, because they are trying to do the same thing. They don't have this tool available that is offered by impact investment. It's a missing piece right now in the larger puzzle. And you cannot expect the regular VCs to go there and make that investment, because that's not their mandate. So this is slightly different kind of heavy lifting required. Yes, Ishita, please come on.
I'd just like to continue to what you both of you are saying, which is sorry for again digressing and stopping this discussion from going forward, but that is where government comes in, and the kind of investments that we are trying to make. There's some announcement that we are expecting in this budget that, for which we'll be taking that forward. But that's exactly what we're trying to do. I mean, when I mentioned about democratizing innovation and entrepreneurship, that's exactly what we're trying to do, going in the interiors of the country. And by the way, we need to answer you. Very recently, we've launched a vernacular innovation program. It's a massive program where we have created 24 language task forces, and all these 24 language task forces, these are all the scheduled languages of India, are being taught. Being taught on a basic design thinking course, and once they are ready, we will then open it up for the rest of the country. So there's no reason that you should not be able to make a pitch your business in Gujarati or Marathi or Santhali for that matter. So that's an initiative that we're trying to do in the spirit of democratizing innovation and entrepreneurship, whether it is about region, whether it is about languages, whether it is about gender, and whether it is in terms of the funding also. We have a incubator that has come up, which we have seeded in Raipur. It's a tier 3 city. It's not even tier 2, I guess. There was no ecosystem there. So the incubator first created the ecosystem, and you'll be surprised that it has a Head Start chapter there. I mean, a lot of tier 2 cities would not have a Head Start chapter. It has, it's very well networked. The Northeast, where we have 2 or 3 of the ecosystem incubators supported by AIM set up there, are actually starting to create an ecosystem or starting to generate that thinking about entrepreneurship. So yes, the government is trying its bit. It will take time. India is huge geographically, language-wise, culture-wise. It takes time, and the inputs are always welcome. The one thing that and I'm also frankly not a government person as such. I'm a lateral hire. I've been there with the government only for the past 5 years of Atal Innovation Mission. But after having worked on this side of the table for such a long time, I understand that this is a very, very a government which is very, very open to suggestions. Look at the angel tax issue. It was resolved in a matter of hours. So while we are aware of the issues, our problem on this side is to how to roll out the solutions within the larger framework of the, the GFR and all that. And so suggestions are always welcome, and we will invite entrepreneurs who are already there, folks like Mr. Munjal, you, Vineet. We have had conversations earlier as well at Atal Innovation Mission. We are now, of course, those were very early days of AIM. Now we have traversed a journey 5 years down the line. We can have a separate set of conversations. We are happy to work with all of you here to take this country forward in the area of innovation and entrepreneurship.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And we will take you up, Ishita, on this. We'll have a conversation offline separately.
Pleasure's all mine.
You surprise me all the time. Now I'll request Ajay as to what exactly he is doing. Ajay Sinha.
Good afternoon, everybody. And My sincere thanks to Mr. Bernard, who had been conducting this session very well, starting from the time at 3 o'clock. And thanks to Sunil ji, Mr. Nitesh, Yashita ji, everybody whoever came on the platform, including Mr. Rai also, Mr. Vineet Rai. And they have given us a very good insight about the startups and how to start up the businesses also, what are the challenges one faces. And that is what exactly we are expecting out of this particular session. I happen to be the person who is running this STEAM house at Ludhiana. And basically, as you also know, that STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Maths. And these are the 5 subjects which is a must for any entrepreneur to start up his business. And it is important for them to have the knowledge about this particular, all these 5 subjects. And that is what we are trying to bring together here at STEAM House, so that any entrepreneur or any startup who wants to do his business, he will not be deprived of the knowledge of any of these 5 aspects of the business. And that is what we are trying to bring in together with the help of the engagement of the mentors and the, I would say, business experts who can come and who can offer the helping hand to those who want to start up their business. So it's an initiative that we have taken under the umbrella of MBCI and in partnership with Birmingham City University. And a lot many hopes are being attached to this. And Ludhiana being a hub for the ICE engine, ICE vehicle part and component manufacturing. To start with, we are focusing upon the electric vehicle parts and component development, which itself is a challenge. And once it is done, then you can imagine the kind of a change that we can bring about in the entire business scenario and the landscape of this particular part of the country. And that's the intent with which we are working upon. Thanks to Ishita ji offering the kind of a investments and the source of money which is available through the government of India. And of the session, I'll be connecting myself to you, ma'am, and then we'll be seeking more information from you, so that we can utilize that information in the interest of those who are joining us at STEAM House. Thank you so much for the time to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you?
Thank you very much. Mr. Sunil Munjal has set up the agenda very well. At MBCI Ludhiana, we are trying to disrupt higher education. We are trying to bring in industrial innovation and complete with an incubation center with the idea of creating an ecosystem. Ludhiana, as it is the University of Entrepreneurs, but there is missing link, which is the entire ecosystem. And with Mr. Sunil Munjal in the lead, we are trying to create that ecosystem, which integrates education, industrial innovation, and startups. I have the pleasure of now introducing Mr. Bernard Karan. He has already been introduced, but I'll briefly say, to save time, Bernard has over 30 years of experience in creating, growing, and exiting successful enterprises. In his career, he has operated in various roles, from sales director through managing director to board chair. He has successfully provided advice, coaching, and mentoring to over 1,000 business enterprises in various roles, from non-executive to formal consultation, and acted as advisor to multiple UK innovation and incubation bodies. Bernard has contracted, modeled, and delivered over 100,000 square feet of innovation centers and numerous successful projects. I have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Bernard Karan for his new initiative in India. Bernard.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prem, for that wonderful introduction. I'd now like to introduce our incubator opportunity in Ludhiana and the background and context to why incubation programs are so important to early stage business. The incubation site within Ludhiana has been a real challenge during the pandemic, and I congratulate my colleagues in Ludhiana for developing a wonderful, bespoke new environment to support our business community in Ludhiana. It is just fantastic to look at, and I am so excited and cannot wait to get back to Ludhiana and experience this environment for myself, and hopefully enjoy the company of some of our guests on this conference today to come in and explore entrepreneurship, innovation, and support those fabulous startup ideas. We've already heard India is currently the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. It's expected to grow to become the largest startup and growth ecosystem by the end of this 2020, by the end of the 2020s. This is just at a scale and growth potential that is exciting, but also something we need to support and manage. India is currently producing about 60,000 early stage startups per annum. But there's a flip side to this. 9 out of 10 startups don't actually end up successful. 20% of our startups actually don't even see the end of their first year of trying to trade. 30% of our startups close within 3 years, and after 5 years, over half of them don't exist. We need to help our startup community to be more resilient, to learn from the experience, as we've seen today, to actually increase the likelihood of success and support them on that journey of exploration into successful new business. The valley of death is a well-known concept within the startup community and certainly within academia. Great incubators support the entrepreneur through those early stages, bringing in the expertise, sharing with people who have been through this journey that knowledge to minimize the likelihood of failure in those pre-income days and maximize the opportunity for these businesses to accelerate through into the break-even point and create valuable income. One of the things that I've witnessed over many years of both running my own businesses and supporting early stage business is most of our early stage business leaders are not aware of some of the key aspects they need to know about, and are not even aware that they don't know. What do I mean? So what I mean is we know what we know. We have a great idea for a new product or service. That's fully cognizant. We're fully aware of that situation. We begin to realize that there are some things that we need to understand how to do. How do we invoice a customer? How do we manage credit control? What do we do about premises? Think about that wonderful talent pool. How do we recruit staff? How do we contract staff? So we become cognizant. We realize that we need to learn these things that we might not know how to do. But in my opinion, there's a whole plethora of requirements that we're not even aware, we don't know anything about. Business requirements, legal structures, tax and returns. How do you appropriately account within your business? How do you retain customers? So a great incubator actually recognizes that those leaders starting those businesses will not have that knowledge. And we help those businesses from ideation through learning business skills, collaborating within a network of professionals and experts to address those issues early before they fail at the point at which they realize they hadn't done something properly. Bring in experienced mentors, and we provide a dedicated facility and support structure which is focused on one thing, which is your success. And that is the key. Standard business models for incubators are pretty straightforward. And I think Mr. Sonobkamp Munjal mentioned this earlier. We need to be inclusive. We need to engage all of our community in the opportunities, problem solving, and ambitions that they have, so that we become a physical location for all to explore enterprise, innovation, and opportunity. By providing workshops at a language level that is understood, at in a way that people can explore in their own time and learning pace. We bring in the expertise. We help the business to not only create a fabulous business plan, but actually put it into operation, utilizing experts and practitioners who have been there. And I know certainly in my business journey, I've made pretty much every mistake you can make. And I would love to share that with others on this journey so they don't have to make all those mistakes as well. Typical business workshops and classes, environment, context. We're going to look at the 3 C's, so important. If you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. Pricing and costing and distribution, promotion. Look at those issues about how we train staff, how we gain access to markets, how we produce production plans, how we look at lean processes so that we drive cost out of the front side of our business and maximize the value to our customers. Think about our finances. Most early stage businesses actually fail because they run out of cash. So we need to understand cash flow at an intensive level. And we need to then help our businesses to review and improve that activity on an ongoing basis. That's a typical sketch of a typical day workshop. MBCIE is going to deliver a real resource to the business community in Ludhiana, from advice and guidance, an inclusive entry point for the community wrapped around us, access to our innovation facilities, laboratories, skilled technicians to explore, prototype, the collaborating with the community. The community have problems, bring those problems into our centre, allow us to consider with you what solutions can look like. Business is not disconnected from community. Business is at the heart and core of community. And our centre should be positioned as your go-to solution for your business issues. Simple, flexible space to explore innovation, growth, and startups, and bring in that business support, not only from outside, but all the business expertise we have wrapped around us in Ludhiana and the Punjab. Bring that expertise together, collaborate and share that knowledge so that others can prosper and grow around us. Really important. I'd like to introduce, as a final piece today, our first program of delivery through MBCIE to you, our business community, and our business leaders within our community. Our Starting Business workshop program, a 12-week dedicated program looking at all the skills, techniques, and mechanisms to enhance your business opportunity. We will transfer the knowledge and skills within Ludhiana, but also within our centres in the UK, in Birmingham. Bring that expertise and share that to you as a collaborative opportunity to enhance your business skills, your understanding, ideation, looking at problems, solving problems, so that you go away with a set of core skills to enable you to have that confidence, that self-confidence to develop your exciting new business opportunities. I want to just finish off with something that I think is really important. Innovation, often misunderstood. It's more than technology. It's more than invention. It's about business models. It's about processes and products. One thing I think we all need to be careful of is that we don't end up in the situation in that cartoon. Are we looking behind us saying, no, I'm too busy to consider change? Am I too busy to go and learn new skills? Am I too busy to consider innovation? Well, I suggest this is your opportunity. This really is your chance to make a difference, increase your chance of success, and I'll embrace innovation as an opportunity to create competitive advantage. Come and join us, engage with us, be part of our new community, challenge us, ask questions, bring opportunities, allow us to be your point of contact to support your business journey. Thank you very much for allowing me the time to speak to you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bernard. I also want to thank all the panelists today, starting with Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal, beautifully laying out the evolution and the future potential of the startups in India. Mr. Ritesh Agarwal for a very candid look back at the journey and the challenges. And Ishita, Vineet Rai for adding to the understanding of the startup system, and Bernard for introducing the concept of a startup program and the incubation center at Ludhiana. Ajay Sinha, Mr. Rai for adding in their valuable inputs. We are meeting tomorrow again at 3 o'clock Indian Standard Time with Bernard Karan in the lead as anchor. And we have a very interesting conversation tomorrow to start with at 3, which is Mr. Bhavish Agarwal, one of the most prominent startups from India, having a global footprint. And the yesterday's news was his $100 million Center for Innovation of Mobility in the UK. So that is another dimension. We have Mr. Subrat Pani, the founder of the Customer Assist, the solutions regarding customer care. And we have Mr. Simon Colton as an international example of a startup. His startup is One's Layer Footwear. And we have a very distinguished Professor Julian Beer, who heads the Steam House in UK and who has been the pioneer of startups, innovation, and the knowledge transfer from the university to the industry in UK. So Julian will be in conversation with Bernard tomorrow again, who join us tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Before we close, let me add few more people. Before we add few more names who deserve thanks for working very hard. One is the Venkatesh Vijay, faculty of BCU, who has really worked very hard, done wonderful job. Without doubt, without him, we couldn't have been able to do anything. The next in my list is equally strong support from MindMind. MindMind led by Ajay and Vasundhara, plus Anshul at a later date, he left. He had a marriage in his house, but still he thought he should do it and joined us here. So the great success that deserves is we are the front runner. The real backup has come from MindMind and Vijay. But tomorrow morning has to be very fascinating. You will see a different kind of approach tomorrow. There are no lectures, there are fireside chats, unbelievable kind of experience you will have. Do join us. Don't miss it. There is nothing that we can do it. And I invite all my colleagues from Birmingham City University. There are very many people who have joined us. Please let you know what better we can do to improve this. We are nowhere in delivery as you might be doing in Birmingham City University. Just please advise what else we can do to make this entire session very friendly. I'm Raya from Hero Cycles and also involved in this business. Thank you very much. Thanks for all of you participating. The 510 people who started with us today and this morning. They are all invited to please join. Thank you. We close the day now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Fabulous day. Look forward to tomorrow.
And अपना सेम टाइम पे 3 to 4